Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I'm SocietySucks and today I'm checking out the Battle of the Atlantic by Mitsi Studio. For those of you who don't know, this is about World War II, Germany U-boats, sinking Allied ships, you know, that kind of stuff. So let's see what Mitsi has to say about it.
The U-boat war, better known as the Battle of the Atlantic, was a decisive battle that determined the outcome of World War II. It was fought mostly by the German service and U-boat fleet to cut Allied supply lines between Great Britain and other parts of the world. A huge logistical operation that went swimmingly for Germany in the beginning, and later in the war, still swimmingly, yet in another sense of the word. After the First World War, severe restrictions were enforced to Germany's military and navy to prevent its expansion and therefore another huge conflict in Western Europe. Obviously, that plan backfired a bit. With the outbreak of World War II, the U-boats would play a major role right from the start. Within 8 hours of Britain's war declaration on Germany, the U-boat commander Fritz Julius Lemp mistakenly torpedoed the civilian cruise liner SSS Athena. That might sound like a dumb thing to do, that's because it is. And remember this Commander Lemp guy, we got more stupid stuff on him later.
Oh no.
Some more capable and brave captains like Gunther Prien took near-suicidal risks to maneuver his U-boat into the Royal Navy's home fleet base of Scapa Flow.
That takes some serious balls.
A few torpedoes up the metal behind of the battleship the Royal Oak. These U-boat crews were welcomed as heroes when they arrived home in their ports back in France. Besides the loss of the Royal Oak, the Royal Navy was also losing too many merchant ships. Great Britain was slowly being starved. Churchill knew this was going to be a battle for tonnage. If they could not get more ships into their ports than the Germans would sink, Great Britain could not survive this blockade. So significant was the threat from the U-boats that Churchill once stated, "The only thing that ever really frightened me during the war was the U-boat peril." A guy called Donitz said to Hitler, "Give me more U-boats and I can win the war for you in Europe." And another guy or admiral called Raeder said, "I can do that too, but with big giant battleships that makes your penis look bigger." Needless to say,
and that's what he won
that argument, only for Hitler to have his giant penis image shattered with the sinking of his prestige ship, the Bismarck. Sat back.
Bigger ship, bigger target.
This was the perfect moment for Donitz to tell Hitler that the Raeder guy sucks kartoffel balls, and reminded him of their little sneaky sleazy U-boat fleet that was already causing havoc to Allied merchant shipping for months. With Hitler's approval, the U-boat fleet started a massive expansion, and more Allied ships fell victim to the invisible threat of the U-boats. With new plans of attack like the Wolfpack tactic, basically a giant meat grinder consisting of multiple U-boats group raping Allied convoys.
Oh no!
Losses even worse for the Allies.
Why do you have to say it like that?
Ships in just 7 months. Germans called worse for the Allies, losing more than 200 ships in just 7 months. Germans call this period
that's a lot.
Happy times. When a bunch of Nazis call something happy, you can assume it's not going to be fun for everyone. And not fun it was. Things got more intense with the US joining the war, basically letting their merchant ships travel the waters poorly protected. It's not like they had a friend on the other side of the pond who was warning them about this. The tonnage sunk by German U-boats hit an all-time high. Now U-boats were also patrolling the US East Coast, picking off merchant ships like it was a full frenzy hunting season.
I didn't realize that they were actually close to the US. I thought the German U-boats kept mostly, you know, to like Britain, maybe close to Iceland. I didn't realize they were actually at the US East Coast.
These happy times proved to be temporary. With the expansion of their U-boat fleet, another problem emerged. More U-boats meant more radio traffic. This was picked up by the British and exposed more positions where the U-boats were operating. The British were also busy deciphering the German naval codes. This was an encrypted code being communicated using a device the Germans called the Enigma, a sort of next-gen typewriter with a shitload of clocks, spinning wheels, and buttons. The British intelligence services at Bletchley Park worked around the clock to crack the German naval codes. A 28-year-old mathematical genius with no sex life called Alan Turing built a giant electromechanical device that identified patterns in the German rotor wheels. With the help of a team of cryptanalysts at Bletchley, he was able to crack the codes. maybe the Germans shouldn't have put Heil Hitler in every message. Silly Germans.
Did they
With many
actually
ships
do
now
that?
being redirected around the Wolfpacks, Donitz became suspicious that the enemy was checking his mailbox. They added additional networks for the U-boats and made other changes to their communications, but did not consider their Enigma codes to be compromised. A good example of how superiority ego issues can get you into.
Honestly, they should have changed the way they encode those messages at least once every year, I'd say. Everything is eventually gonna get cracked. So they should have been replacing them from time to time just to be safe.
Trouble. Now, remember that Commander Lemp guy from earlier in the video? If things were not yet bad enough for the Germans, Lemp managed to get his U-110 so badly damaged in action that he was forced to surface, where standard procedure for U-boat commanders was to scuttle their U-boat and prevent the capture of any hardware to the enemy. I guess for Herr Lemp, scuttling and not scuttling a U-boat was just as confusing as torpedoing and not torpedoing a passenger liner. After failing to destroy his vessel, he jumped from the lifeboat back into the water to fix his mistake, only for him to drown minutes later because he, well, also fucked up the swimming part.
How?
With the commander dead and the crew captured by the enemy, the disappearance of U-110 was considered a loss, and Donitz was not aware the British captured their Enigma machine. The Allies were now so effective in redirecting their ships around the U-boats.
All because the one guy.
Rated ships closer to the Wolfpack from time to time. This was done to keep the German High Command in the dark about the cracking of codes. From this time on, things were turning from bad to worse. Basically, a day with patrolling U-boats not finding anything out there was soon to be considered a good day for the Germans. Since the beginning of the war, an underground top-secret headquarters was established in Liverpool to oversee the logistical coordination of the Allied convoys. By 1942, the Western Approaches Tactical Unit was created. This was a team consisting mostly of women, who studied German U-boat tactics and were basically playing war games with the Nazis. This was the 1942 equivalent of an online game server, where a British women's team was going godlike on the Germans, teabagging U-boats. Plus, the Germans did not have the option to rage quit back then. Combined with the use of these new tactics designed by the Western approaches, the Allies also created new weapons to fully exploit their new order of battle.
Depth charges?
Despite these developments, there was still a large part of the Atlantic where the U-boats had the upper hand. This area was known as the Mid-Atlantic Gap, which was out of range for Allied planes to escort the convoys. By attacking at night, the U-boats still posed a serious threat to the convoys. However, the new Allied weapons and counter-tactics began to tip the balance of power. With better detection systems and heavier armed destroyer escorts, the losses inflicted to the U-boat fleet became unbearable for the Germans. The final death blow was the introduction of long-range anti-subplanes to close the Mid-Atlantic Gap. With smaller radar devices being installed on aircraft, U-boats could even be attacked from the air in the middle of the night. Now every U-boat in the Atlantic was pretty much fucked. Also, most of the experienced elite crews were already dead or missing and were replaced with a bunch of noobs. The U-boat arm had become a
That's the main problem when it comes to pretty much any part of the military. You can replace equipment, but you cannot replace well-trained and experienced soldiers. It doesn't matter if you keep replacing the equipment. If the good soldiers are gone and you replace them with random conscripts who don't have enough training, no matter how good your weapons are, they're not going to be effective.
Shadow of its former
or not
self
as effective as they should be.
Halfway through 1943, the U-boat fleet attacked multiple convoys and suffered their heaviest losses of 43 U-boats in just 4 weeks. This event marked the beginning of the end for the U-boats. Boat fleet attacked multiple convoys and suffered their heaviest losses of 43 U-boats in just 4 weeks.
More than one a
this
day.
Event marked the beginning of the end for
on
the U-boats
average.
And is remembered as Black May, not to be confused with Happy Times. Kriegsmarine Karma. Join our community on
that's it?
Patreon.
Yeah, so in the beginning things went well for the Germans, but eventually it all just fell apart. That didn't just happen in the Atlantic, that happened pretty much everywhere where the Germans were fighting. It was good in the beginning, and then everything just kind of went to shit. And yeah, big ships like the Bismarck or the Yamato, they weren't good ideas. The bigger the ship, the bigger of a target it is. The same thing goes for pretty much every part of the military. Let's take a look at the German Maus, for example. Big ass tank, 180 tons, and it would have been useless if it actually came into production. And there's multiple reasons for that. First of all, it was bloody massive. So it would have been an easy and big target for planes. Second reason, it was so damn heavy, many bridges, if not most, would have crumbled underneath its weight. So it wouldn't have even been able to go anywhere. The third reason, I'm pretty sure there were a lot of issues with the engine and stuff with the mouse, so it wasn't gonna move much anyway. Yeah, just making ships, tanks, planes bigger doesn't necessarily make them better. In fact, it seems to be that it made them worse. But hey, the German U-boats still had a pretty good run before everything fell apart. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you want to see more reactions, check out this video right here. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.